Have you ever had the strange feeling that someone keeps showing up in your life? Not dramatically, not in a movie scene, just there. A little more often than coincidence can explain. And every time it happens, you tell yourself the same thing. Nah, I'm probably imagining it. Because that's what most men do. Not because they're arrogant, because they're afraid of getting it wrong. Afraid of mistaking kindness for attraction. Afraid of becoming the guy who reads too much into a smile. So they dismiss everything. The glance, the curiosity, the tiny changes in someone's energy around them. And sometimes, while they're busy convincing themselves that nothing is happening, something is happening. Someone is slowly falling for them. If that thought makes you uncomfortable, stay with me. And if you've ever watched one of these conversations quietly, late at night, trying to understand people a little better, consider subscribing. Not because I need another number on a screen, but because some truths take time to uncover, and I think you and I are going to have a few of those conversations together. Now let me tell you something I've noticed after years of listening to people talk about love. The beginning rarely looks the way men expect. Men often imagine attraction as something obvious, visible, direct, impossible to miss. But genuine feelings usually arrive disguised as something much smaller: attention, interest, presence. A woman rarely wakes up one morning and decides she's completely in love with someone. What usually happens is much quieter. She starts noticing him. Then she starts remembering things about him. Then she starts wondering about him when he isn't around. And that's where things become interesting. Because from the outside, almost nothing changes. To everyone else, she seems exactly the same. She's still living her life, still answering messages, still going to work, still laughing at the same jokes. But internally, a space has opened. And somehow, this man keeps walking into it. Maybe you've experienced the opposite. Maybe you found yourself thinking about someone unexpectedly. You hear a song and wonder if she'd like it. You see something funny and think about sending it to her. You notice her absence more than her presence. Feelings often begin there. Not with certainty, with attention. And attention is powerful, because where attention goes, emotion quietly follows. What fascinates me is how many men completely miss this stage when it's happening to someone else. They keep waiting for undeniable proof. Meanwhile, the person developing feelings isn't operating from certainty either. She's questioning herself too, wondering why your opinion suddenly matters, wondering why she remembers details about conversations that weren't even important, wondering why your mood affects hers more than she'd like. The reason you miss these moments is because you're looking for confidence, but early attraction isn't confident. It's hesitant, it's curious, it's careful, and honestly, that's what makes it real. The strongest emotions often begin with confusion, not clarity. Which brings me to something uncomfortable. A lot of men watching this have spent years feeling invisible, long enough that invisibility became part of their identity. They walk into rooms already assuming nobody notices them, already assuming nobody is interested, already assuming they're the observer, never the person being observed. And after enough years, that assumption becomes dangerous, because when evidence appears that challenges it, the mind rejects it. Not because it's false, because it doesn't match the story you've been telling yourself. A woman asks an extra question, you dismiss it. She remembers something personal, you dismiss it. She lights up slightly when you arrive, you dismiss it. Again, and again, and again, until eventually you become blind to your own impact on people. Not because the signs aren't there, but because accepting them would require changing the way you see yourself. And for many men, that's much harder than they realize. Because the greatest blind spot in attraction isn't misunderstanding someone else's feelings, it's misunderstanding your own value. And that's where this conversation gets deeper. I want you to picture something. It's late, not midnight, not some dramatic movie hour, just one of those ordinary evenings when the world becomes quieter. She's scrolling through her phone, answering messages, ignoring others, watching videos she won't remember tomorrow. And then your name appears somewhere, maybe in a conversation, maybe on social media, maybe in a notification, maybe nowhere at all. Maybe she simply thinks of you. For a second, her attention shifts. Now here's the part most men never see. Nothing extraordinary happens. No music plays. No emotional revelation crashes into the room. But she pauses, just slightly. And that pause matters more than you think. Because attraction often reveals itself in the moments people don't have to give you attention, but choose to anyway. One of the biggest misconceptions men have is believing attraction is measured by intensity. It usually isn't. It's measured by willingness. Willingness to think about you. Willingness to notice you. Willingness to create space for you inside an already busy life. And that space is valuable, much more valuable than grand gestures. You see, when someone is developing feelings, something subtle begins happening psychologically. Your presence starts carrying emotional weight. Not because you've done something magical, not because you've mastered some secret technique, because the human mind naturally attaches emotion to people who consistently create meaningful experiences. Maybe you made her feel understood. Maybe she feels calmer around you. Maybe she laughs more with you. Maybe she feels seen in a way she rarely experiences. Whatever the reason, her brain starts connecting you with a feeling, and eventually she stops looking forward to seeing you. She starts looking forward to how she feels when she sees you. That's an important distinction, because people often think they're falling for a person. Sometimes they're falling for the emotional experience that person creates. Now, before you get excited, I need to tell you something many channels won't. This doesn't mean every friendly woman likes you. It doesn't mean every smile is attraction. It doesn't mean every act of kindness hides romantic feelings. Human beings are more complex than that. But there is a difference between politeness and emotional investment. Politeness is available to everyone. Investment is selective. Politeness says, "Hope you're doing well." Investment says, "You seemed tired yesterday, are you okay?" Politeness notices your existence. Investment notices your state. And when someone begins noticing your emotional world, that's when things become interesting. Because emotionally invested people pay attention differently. They remember details they don't need to remember. Not because they're trying to, because their mind has quietly decided you're important. And importance changes memory. Think about the last person who genuinely mattered to you. You probably remember tiny things about them, random comments, specific stories, small preferences, the way they reacted to certain situations. Not because you studied them, because your attention naturally stayed there. The same thing happens in reverse. Sometimes a woman remembers things about you that you forgot you ever said. Not because she's analyzing you, not because she's keeping score, because somewhere along the way your words started carrying weight, and weight creates memory. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of men accidentally talk themselves out of seeing these signs, not because they're unaware, because they're wounded. There's a difference. An unaware man simply doesn't notice. A wounded man notices and immediately explains it away. He tells himself, "She's just being nice. She does that with everyone. There's no way she'd be interested in me." And maybe sometimes he's right, but sometimes he's not. Sometimes what he's actually protecting isn't reality, it's disappointment. Because if you never allow yourself to believe someone could care about you, you never have to risk finding out they don't. It's safer, lonelier, but safer. And many men live there for years, not realizing that their fear of rejection has become stronger than their ability to recognize affection. So they miss something important, not because the signs were invisible, because they felt impossible. And when something feels impossible, the mind stops looking for it. But there is another sign that runs deeper than remembered details or extra attention. A sign that's harder to fake, harder to misunderstand, and once you notice it, you'll start seeing people very differently. There's a moment that happens when someone begins caring about you more than they planned to. And no, it doesn't look like flirting. It doesn't look like a romantic confession. Most of the time, it doesn't even look confident. It looks like inconsistency, which is exactly why so many men misread it. Let me explain. People are usually predictable around those they feel neutral about. Their energy stays relatively stable, their behavior makes sense, their emotions remain organized. But when genuine feelings start getting involved, something strange happens. People become slightly less smooth, slightly less certain, slightly more human. A woman who doesn't care very much about your opinion can disagree with you comfortably. A woman who is starting to care might suddenly think about your reaction, Not because she's weak, not because she's trying to impress you, because your opinion has acquired emotional significance, and significance creates tension. Have you ever noticed how relaxed you are around people whose approval means nothing to you? Now compare that to someone whose opinion matters. Everything changes. You become more aware, more careful, more present. That's not manipulation, that's vulnerability. And vulnerability often appears before love does. I've seen this countless times. A woman says she's not thinking about someone, yet she keeps bringing him up. She insists he's just a friend, yet his mood affects her entire day. She claims she doesn't care, yet somehow she remembers every conversation. The mind loves certainty. The heart is often several steps behind. That's why feelings can create contradictions, and contradictions are fascinating because they reveal what someone is still trying to understand about themselves. Now imagine this from her perspective. Maybe she wasn't looking for anyone. Maybe she's focused on work, focused on family, focused on healing from something difficult. Then, unexpectedly, you enter the picture. Not dramatically, quietly. And now she finds herself thinking about someone she never planned on thinking about. That can be unsettling, especially for emotionally intelligent people. Contrary to what many believe, emotionally mature people don't always rush toward feelings. Sometimes they examine them carefully. Sometimes they hesitate. Sometimes they question them, because they understand that emotions have consequences. So what appears as mixed signals isn't always manipulation or uncertainty about you. Sometimes it's uncertainty about what those feelings might mean. And this brings us to one of the strongest indicators that someone is becoming emotionally attached. Your emotional state begins affecting theirs. Not completely, not obsessively, but noticeably. When you're excited, she seems brighter. When you're discouraged, she becomes concerned. When you're distant, she notices. When you're absent, something feels slightly off. This isn't because her world revolves around you. Healthy attraction doesn't work that way. It's because humans naturally become emotionally connected to people they care about. Their internal world becomes linked, little by little, to yours. And that's difficult to fake. People can fake compliments, they can fake confidence, they can even fake interest for short periods. But genuine emotional concern is harder to manufacture. Because concern requires investment, and investment requires feeling. Now here's where many men get confused. They assume attraction is always about being desired, but often it's about being valued. Being desired can be temporary, being valued runs deeper. When someone values you, they become curious about your struggles. They want to know what's behind your silence. They notice when something feels different. They care about things that provide them no direct benefit. And that's where affection quietly reveals itself. Not in dramatic declarations, in attention, in concern, in emotional responsiveness. The truth is, by the time someone starts caring about how you're doing, they're often much further along emotionally than either of you realize. But there is one final reason men miss all of this. One reason more powerful than insecurity, more powerful than fear. A reason that keeps countless men blind to what is right in front of them. And once you understand it, you may never see yourself or your relationships the same way again. The reason many men miss the signs isn't because they're clueless, and it isn't because women are impossible to understand. It's something far more personal, far more uncomfortable. Most men have spent years learning how to evaluate themselves through absence. Absence of compliments, absence of attention, absence of reassurance, absence of obvious evidence. And after a while, the mind starts treating absence like proof. No one said they liked me, so nobody does. No one told me I mattered, so I probably don't. No one made it obvious, so nothing must be happening. Do you see the trap? It's subtle, but it's powerful. Because once that belief settles in, it begins filtering reality. Not consciously, automatically. The same way tinted glasses change every color you see. I've spoken to men who could list 10 reasons someone wouldn't be interested in them without pausing for breath. Yet ask them to name 3 qualities that make them genuinely valuable, and suddenly the room becomes quiet. Very quiet. Because criticism became familiar, appreciation never did. And what feels familiar often feels true, even when it isn't. So when somebody starts developing feelings for them, Their mind doesn't process the evidence objectively. It runs everything through an old story. A story that sounds something like this. People don't choose me. People don't think about me. People don't see me that way. The details vary. The message stays the same. And here's the heartbreaking part. Many men carry that story for so long that they stop questioning it. It becomes part of their identity, not a thought, a fact. At least that's what it feels like. But identities built from old pain have a strange habit. They survive by rejecting new evidence. Every sign gets explained away. Every moment gets minimized. Every possibility gets dismissed. Because if the story changes, then the person has to change too. And change is terrifying. Even positive change, especially positive change. Think about it. What would happen if you genuinely accepted that someone might be falling for you right now? Not guaranteed, not proven, just possible. For some men, that possibility feels exciting. For others, it feels dangerous. Because hope creates risk. The moment you allow yourself to believe you might matter to someone, you become vulnerable to disappointment. So the brain chooses protection. It lowers expectations, assumes disinterest, rejects possibilities before reality can. It's an emotional defense mechanism, an understandable one, but still a defense mechanism. And here's what fascinates me. The men who are most convinced nobody could be interested in them are often the ones who leave the deepest impression on people. Not because they're pretending, because they're real. They listen, they think, they care. They carry experiences that have made them thoughtful. Yet because they don't fit some exaggerated image of confidence, they overlook the effect they have on others. Meanwhile, somewhere nearby, someone may be noticing qualities they barely recognize in themselves. Your patience, your calmness, your humor, your honesty, the way you make people feel safe, the way you stay kind when life gives you reasons not to. People fall for those things more often than they fall for perfection. Perfection is impressive, humanity is memorable. And that's why attraction is often invisible to the person receiving it. Because we're looking at ourselves from the inside. Everyone else sees us from the outside. They see qualities we've normalized, strengths we've stopped noticing, characteristics we've taken for granted. Which means there is a strange possibility, a possibility that feels almost unfair. You may be evaluating yourself based on your insecurities, while someone else is quietly admiring the parts of you that feel ordinary. And if that's true, then the final sign isn't really about them at all. It's about what happens when you finally allow yourself to see what they've been seeing. So let me leave you with a thought, not a dating strategy, not a technique, just a thought. What if the biggest thing you're missing isn't someone's feelings, but your own visibility? What if you've spent so many years looking for reasons people wouldn't choose you that you've stopped noticing the reasons they might? Sit with that for a second, because I know what some men are thinking right now. If someone liked me, I'd know. Would you? Honestly? Would you? Or would you explain it away the same way you've explained away 100 other things? The compliment you dismissed, the conversation that lasted longer than it needed to, the person who kept finding reasons to be around you, the concern that seemed slightly deeper than casual politeness, the attention that felt different, not dramatic, just different. The truth is, attraction often leaves a trail made of small moments. And small moments are easy to ignore when you're waiting for big ones. But relationships rarely begin with certainty. They begin with curiosity, with attention, with emotional investment that grows slowly enough that neither person fully notices it at first. That's what makes these experiences so human. Nobody receives a message from the universe announcing that feelings have arrived. People discover them gradually, through presence, through connection, through countless interactions that seem insignificant until they aren't. And maybe that's why this topic matters. Not because someone is definitely falling for you. I don't know that. Neither do you. The world doesn't offer guarantees. What it offers are possibilities. What it offers are moments. What it offers are people whose lives briefly intersect with ours in meaningful ways. And sometimes those intersections become something beautiful. Sometimes they don't. That's life. But there is a profound difference between being rejected by reality and rejecting possibilities before reality ever speaks. One teaches you something. the other keeps you trapped. So perhaps the goal isn't to convince yourself that everyone likes you. That's not wisdom. The goal is something much healthier, to become open enough to notice, open enough to see, open enough to accept that your assumptions about yourself may not always be accurate. Because here's something I've learned after listening to people talk about love, heartbreak, longing, and connection for years. Human beings are remarkably poor judges of the impact they have on others. We underestimate ourselves constantly. We assume people forget us faster than they do. We assume our presence matters less than it does. We assume our words disappear. Yet over and over, I watch people describe someone who changed their life without ever realizing it. A conversation they still remember, a kindness they never forgot, a person who mattered more than they ever knew. And most of those people had no idea. None. So maybe someone is falling for you right now, maybe not. But perhaps the more important realization is this. You are affecting people in ways you cannot fully see. You are leaving impressions you cannot fully measure. You are being remembered in places you never think about. And the version of you that exists inside someone else's mind may be far more valuable than the version you've been carrying inside your own. That doesn't mean every glance is attraction. It doesn't mean every connection is romance. But it does mean this. You might not be nearly as invisible as you think. And if you've been waiting for a sign, maybe that is the sign. Not that somebody definitely loves you, not that fate is secretly arranging your future, just that your story may be larger than your fears have allowed you to believe. So tonight, when the room gets quiet, when the noise fades, when you're left alone with your thoughts, ask yourself one honest question. What if I'm not seeing the whole picture? Because sometimes the most important thing that changes your life isn't discovering who is looking at you, it's finally learning to look at yourself differently. And once that happens, you start noticing things that were there all along.